Mark Hamill recently tweeted about Luke Skywalker's role in Episode 9. I want to break all of that down and talk about why this might be the last time that Mark Hamill tweets about Episode 9. This is the Nerdy News Rundown. Let's get you filled in. Before we get into this, I need to shout out Mike Ryan, who got the nerd card question correct on my Iron Man video from yesterday. You definitely know your stuff when it comes to Marvel Comics, so shout out to you, man. We'll go ahead and do another nerd card question at the end of this video. So guys, it's a rule of the universe that when Mark Hamill tweets something about Luke Skywalker in Episode 9, we have to cover it here. Now, you're going to see a lot of stories about this. Mark Hamill definitely tweeted something very interesting yesterday, and here's why people are going to be talking about this. Here's what the tweet says specifically. It says, I mentioned keeping my Star Wars opinions to myself, and what happens? It triggers an avalanche of questions about the next one. All can say is, I'm in it. Other than that, just consider it Episode 9 comment. So it's an interesting tweet. I mean, a lot of people are running with the fact that Mark Hamill confirms that he's going to be in Episode 9, but we kind of already knew that. However, I think there's actually a lot to dive into when it comes into this tweet. Now, famously, Mark voiced his opinions about disagreeing with the take on the Luke Skywalker character in The Last Jedi. This made waves in the community, in the fandom, and I think that the problem here was that Mark's comments were taken and used as ammunition for people that really despised what Disney was doing with Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, the character specifically. And so Mark has come out and has said that he regrets that he regrets having that discussion in an open forum, that these are the type of things that you can totally talk about, but they should be kept in the family. And he regrets that came out there and was made public. And so I believe what was happening here is that Mark is trying to convey that he doesn't want that to happen again. I mean, he just can't have his words used against somebody like Ryan, even though it would go a long way to getting people excited for Episode 9 if he did speak to certain things. But we'll get into that in just a second. And so, obviously, the tweet confirms that he'll be in the movie. Like I said, we already knew this. But the fact that he is talking about it in this sort of a way and putting it out there could possibly mean that Luke Skywalker has much more than just a cameo in the film. As of right now, there are massive rumors and speculations when it comes to what the Luke Skywalker character will be doing in Star Wars Episode 9. I mean, this thing is being billed as the end of the Skywalker saga. Obviously, Ben Solo being like the focal point of this end of the Skywalker saga. He's the big bad in the movie. He's looking to be redeemed likely, and this all has to do with Skywalker, his training, how he turned against him and burned down the temple. It's kind of a rough situation between Ben and Luke. Not very good. Now, I think when you consider the fan reaction to The Last Jedi, particularly when it comes to what happened with the Luke Skywalker character, I really do believe that Disney and Lucasfilm are going to give us a different version of Luke in Episode 9. They're going to return him to the form that we know, the more optimistic old master. He might even explain some of his behavior from The Last Jedi, and I think that if that kind of stuff is happening, Mark's probably excited about it, but he doesn't want to talk about his excitement for it. I'm damn sure that he and JJ have had a lot of conversations about what happened in The Last Jedi and about what they want to do with the Luke Skywalker character moving forward. I mean, this is kind of Mark's legacy in a way here, and obviously he put those opinions out about The Last Jedi. I don't think he feels differently now. I mean, he likes The Last Jedi as a film, but I think for the journey of his own character, he still holds true to the beliefs that he has. But once again, this is kind of stuff that not only would happen anyways. You take all of the hate and the venom for The Last Jedi out of the equation, and you still have an actor and a director talking about a character. That's what they do. So there's no doubt in my mind that these discussions are being had and that they are making a conscious effort to do something that's a little bit more of a return to form for the Luke Skywalker character in Episode 9. But it's like, how can you say this if you're Mark Hamill? Like, how can you say, oh, I'm really excited about what they're doing to the Luke Skywalker character in 9 without that seemingly throwing some shade at Rian Johnson? And to the fans out there that don't care about that and they just want Mark to say this sort of a thing, I mean, you can really kind of blame yourself and the vitriol within the fan community. Had the reaction to The Last Jedi been a little bit more milder and people had asserted their criticisms with a little more tact and respect, I think there would have been no problem. Like, Mark would have just came out and said, hey, This is going to be something that I think a lot of Luke Skywalker fans will dig a lot more than what happened in The Last Jedi, but he can't do that because it feels like ammunition. It feels like shots fired to Rian Johnson, and that's just not something that Mark's going to do. I think if you look at what he was saying in this tweet, particularly about his opinions, he wants to keep his opinions about this to himself. I mean, that's so noteworthy. That means that something that is happening in Star Wars Episode 9 is definitely forming his opinion as a fan, right? His opinion of this saga, of this story as a fan is being affected by what is happening, but he doesn't even want to talk about it. Now, personally, I'm actually really hoping that this changes, that as we get closer to the actual promotion for the film, Lucasfilm and Mark will figure out a tactful way to express this idea. Because ultimately, I think they do want to let people know that this end cap to the Skywalker saga, this big push and this return of Luke Skywalker and what he has to say about the state of the galaxy is important. It's a big draw to fans. And so I think that despite Mark kind of being in the middle of this fan war, that as we get closer, there will be a good way for them to go about this. It's not like Mark isn't going to do press. It's not like he's not going to talk about it. And if we know Mark Hamill, he's going to be tongue-in-cheek. He's going to reference things that happened in The Last Jedi. He's going to be Mark, right? I think he's just trying to hold off that period in time as much as possible, perhaps get some direction from Lucasfilm to figure out what's the best way to go about this. It's this whole family team dynamic sort of thing. You huddle together, you figure out the best way to go about it, and then you let Mark be Mark, but he has to have context for that. He has to know what's off limits. How does he approach this? However, I mean, just think about it, guys. It's the end of the Skywalker saga. We know he's going to be in the movie. How do you close out the Skywalker saga without a Skywalker? And we know they're going to do something really cool with Carrie Fisher, with the footage and everything like that, but there is a serious limit to what they will be able to do because she is not around anymore. May she rest in peace. So when you really start to add all of this up, I think it's pretty clear we're going to get at least a significant amount of Luke Skywalker in Episode 9, and even if it's not a lot of screen time, I think it will have a big impact on the story. I mean, Mark's an incredible actor. He turned in an excellent performance in The Last Jedi. Regardless of what you think of the direction they took the character, the performance is amazing. And I mean, there's a lot to go off of there when it comes to the things that Luke said about Darth Sidious, about the Jedi, about the Force itself. So there's a lot of loose ends that I think need tied up, and I think they will get tied up in Episode 9. But that's pretty much the news, guys. Mark Hamill confirming he will be in Episode 9. Take that for what it is. I think it means way more than a cameo, but he also, in the same tweet, talks about how no comment. He's not talking about this stuff. He doesn't want to get involved with this fan war. As I said, really hope that changes as we get a little closer to production, but that is the news out there. Guys, what do you think about this? I mean, A, what do you think about Luke Skywalker in Episode 9? B, what do you think about Mark Hamill? I mean, do you agree that he's in a tough spot? And even though, he'd like to maybe speak out more, because of the state in the fandom, he really can't. Whatever you are thinking about this and in Episode 9, let me know in the comment section below. All right, so let's check that nerd card really quickly. I want to know, as of the recording of this video, how old is Mr. Mark Hamill, the Luke Skywalker, the Joker, the amazing Mark Hamill? How old is that man? Answer that question in the comment section below. Now, that is going to do it for today's show. It's Friday. You made it through another work week. Congratulations. I hope some of the content over here helped you out a little bit, maybe got you through a rough time, or just entertained you while you were bored. Whatever, we're here to add some value. We're here to help. Also, definitely come back on Star Wars Sunday. I have a very cool video talking about the end of the Skywalker saga and how that could actually take place, what that will mean in Star Wars Episode 9. So you're not going to want to miss that. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.